Hi guys, very excited to announce my first rugby video. The Wi-Fi is gone in the house, so I thought I'd hop on and make a little video. Um, so what I'm going to make now is I've been thinking about what I'm going to do and what channel I'm going to turn this into eventually. And I was thinking what I'll definitely do is I'll start making a few rugby videos. That's something that I've really been hoping to do for a while now. So, Six Nations starts next month. So, next year, January. Literally the end of January. So, I think it's an early start, yeah. Um, don't have to wait too long, which is really good. Um, so, there's been the Autumn Internationals. I was at Ireland's final one, which, was good to get to. But, yeah, safe to say that it wasn't the most exciting game, put it that way. And then you've got the Lions tour coming up. So obviously this year's Six Nations or next year's Six Nations will be a big indication as to who gets in and who gets out. So I'll definitely have to update that depending on who plays well and who doesn't. I'm very sure that I will have to update the list, and when I do that, I'll show you the list now, and then I'll show you who gets in, who stays in, and who gets out. So I've got the whiteboard out. I was hoping to make like a sophisticated video, but any of yous ever watch 2 cents rugby or 2 cents because he's a Kiwi? 2 cents rugby. Just to be for a bit of a different audience, but it's something that I really wanted to do and start making a rugby page. So I know there's going to be a few people that don't agree with me and a few people who have their own team. Uh, that's fair. But if you don't agree, comment down below. I was thinking, I was watching other people and thinking, who would they have in the team? I was kind of going, yeah, but that's not who I want. It's based on me, and if everybody picks the same team, it's a little bit boring, I feel, you need a bit of variety. It's good to have different opinions, and if that's the case, put that down in the comment section. Let me know why you think somebody else should be there. As I say, I'm excited. Like I say, it's my first rugby video. It's my first in-depth rugby video. Just trying something a bit different, and please let me know who you think should get in. I think we're going to have a bit of a debate as I put a post up on Facebook, and fly half is going to be an interesting one for sure. There's also a few players that I would put in if they were fit and if they play in the Six Nations and they play well. You never know. So that's something that could all change. I was thinking that would make for an interesting video after the Six Nations, and then I'll discuss that. I'll discuss who's played well, and I'm hoping to kind of do a weekly thing, So who's played well, who hasn't. Yeah, I think it's an interesting direction to take the channel in, but I'm also never going to get away from the mental health aspect. But I think it's something that'll add to the channel. And any rugby fans out there who want to watch, feel free to leave your opinions and let's get into it. So, let's show you, and I'll talk you through each selection. Make sure you get it in there. Right. Hold on. Hope everyone can see. So I'll talk you through it now. So at 1, as you can see over there, we have Andrew Porter. I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. He's been amazing. Don't mind my gammy writing, but yeah, he's been absolutely outstanding. And just think the fact that he can last 70 minutes week in, week out is incredible. His work rate is insane, for a loose head prop. He's super strong, has some of the best gym stats I've ever seen of a rugby player. So, for me, there's no real argument, Now, a few people have said, oh, Ellis Genge, and I'm like, not a chance. Missed way too many tackles in the Autumn Internationals. Definitely not at his best, for what he gives you in the loose play. His set piece can be quite weak, I've noticed. So, he's not making the team. But that could all change. He could have a good Six Nations. So you never know. That can change. At hooker, at 2, I've gone with Dewi Lake because I know it's going to be one now that trips people up. So a lot of people will probably say to me, "Oh, Ronan Kelleher or Ewan Ashman for Scotland." Ewan Ashman has played very well now, and I've noticed that his throwing is very good. And he's someone who's certainly impressed me. But Dewi Lake has been in a very poor Welsh team, and still he always manages to play well. So just imagine what he can do in a good team. Like, he could do very well in this Lions team if he has the players around him. Like, he plays excellently week in, week out for Wales, even when they're playing woefully bad. So yeah, hopefully things pick up for Wales because we need them to be doing well, to make it more competitive. And it's not good to see one of the great nations of rugby not playing well. Like, it's been sad to see. But I think Dewi Lake has definitely earned a spot in the starting team for the first test anyway. And I'm trying to make it a bit more of a variety, do you know what I mean? So yeah, he makes it in for me at hooker. Ronan Kelleher just hasn't been playing well enough to start. And I'm an Irishman, so that's hard for me to say, but he hasn't. It's simple as his throwing hasn't been good enough, and he hasn't been given enough around the field for me to select him. On his day, absolutely fantastic player, but he has not been playing well. And I put the line out mostly down to his throwing. Because I jumped in the line out many moons ago, but there's a timing thing which you have to get right. Anyone who's ever played as a hooker or as a jumper in the line out, like second row or back row, will know. Hard to find any props to jump in the line out. Although I wouldn't put it past this man, Andrew Porter, because he can do it all. But it's a timing thing, The hooker has to throw it as you're kind of going up, so his throw has to leave the hands. There's actually a rule where, and I only found this out actually from a game I was coaching, where one of the lads jumped early and the ref gave a free kick. I actually had never seen that rule in action, but you have to throw it in before the fella gets lifted, so it's a real timing thing, and I think Kelleher is off with that in many ways. So, still a phenomenal player, but hasn't done enough for me to warrant a starting place in the team. And Dewi Lake has been phenomenal for Wales, even though they've been quite poor. And like watching him playing for the Ospreys, he's phenomenal. Always plays well, similar to Andrew Porter. Always shows up week in, week out. And an honourable mention to someone who, if fit, would walk into the team, and if he plays in the Six Nations, I've no doubt he will. That's Dan Sheehan. If he's fit and he plays in the Six Nations and does well, no reason why he doesn't get in, because he's absolutely outstanding. Probably the best hooker in the Northern Hemisphere, next to Piado Movaca, but obviously he's French, so you can't choose him. So, as I say, the videos in the future will be different, but we'll have to see. Moving on to tight head prop number 3 over here is Xander Fagerson. So, again, if Tyg Furlong is fit and plays in the Six Nations, walks into the team if he does well. But Xander Fagerson, in fairness, has played 70 minutes week in, week out for Scotland, kind of like Andrew Porter at Loosehead. And I just think to myself, like, that's phenomenal, playing in that position and lasting that long. I think it kind of shows you the lack of depth in Ireland and in Scotland in the front row. I think front rowers in general at the minute aren't great. There's not an awful lot of good ones to choose from. But Fagerson is Mr. Consistent. He always shows up. He's always there. He's always starting for Scotland and Glasgow, so he gets the nod. I think his biggest thing that I would give him credit for is consistency. Above all, he's always there. Always shows up for the team, so gets the nod in there. As I said, Furlong would walk in if he's playing anywhere near his best, no doubt about it. So 100% gets in. But that's my front row: Andrew Porter, Dewi Lake, and Xander Fagerson. So we've got a bit of variety in there: an Irishman, a Welshman, and a Scotsman. And then we move to the second row, which is where I've played and I know a little bit about. So at number 4, I've gone with Tyg Byrne, because because it's Tyburn. Don't even need to say anything else. He's just been so good. Like, he jumps in the line out. I know that's been an issue. The throwing, that was more a thing for me. His hands are excellent, so for me it wouldn't be a problem. There's a whole issue with the calls and the line outs, and Paul O'Connell needs to rectify that, but I'm very slow to criticise Paul O'Connell. But Tyburn gives you so much. Like, he scores tries, he can play blindside flanker as well as in the second row. His handling is insane. He's great at jackling over the ball. He gets so many steals. You know, it's like having another back rower on the pitch, and he really can do it all. You know, I felt like his form has dipped a little, but there's a lot of shit going on with Munster at the minute and with Graham Roundtree. So yeah, look, we'll see. I'm really hoping he has a good Six Nations, but I'm sure he will, because he always plays well. You know, he can have quiet games, but he goes into a ruck and always comes out with the ball. So he's gotten a few good steals, you know, where he's just been a lot sharper than other people, and he's come out with the ball because he's paying attention when nobody else is, and he knows when the ball is out. He puts pressure on the scrum half constantly. He's brilliant at it, and he's a nightmare to play against, I would imagine. And joining him is his partner for Ireland, Joe McCarthy. So I've gone All Ireland in the second row, an All Irish second row, and Joe McCarthy is in there because his carrying is insane. You know, he's so good with the ball in hand. He's a physical presence, and how many times does he come through them all and just come up with the ball? He does it better than anyone I've seen. He always manages to come out with the ball. Sometimes he gets pinged for it. He chances his arm a little, but he's still got more maturing to do, and if he's this good now, imagine how good he'll be in the future. It's a scary thought. So, like, just thinking of some honourable mentions, like, I do have lads on the bench as well, but people are saying, oh, Maro told you, and I'm kind of like, I don't think he's anywhere near good enough at the minute. Like, he was insanely good. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not the biggest fan of his, but I can't deny that he's a good player. I thought he's a bit arrogant, but look, he's a good player. So, yeah, if he was in form, I'd pick him. England fans will probably say, oh, he deserves to be there, but not for me. Not ahead of Joe McCarthy and Tyburn. So, I'm actually a bigger fan of George Martin, and you'll see a few lads I have included on the bench. And I'll go into them because they deserve a spot in the team, but not in the starting team. Or at least we'll see after the Six Nations. They may play so well that there's no denying they have to start. And speaking of which, like, you might say I'm biased picking so many Irish players. Well, one man that I definitely am picking is Ben Earl, because he is insanely good. You know, there's no way you pick a team for the Lions and don't include Ben Earl. If he's available for your team, you find a way to get him in there because he's so good. Like, watching England in that World Cup, they look crap a lot of the time. You know, they looked flat, they looked boring. Ben Earl always made something happen. He was their standout player for me by a mile. He was always picking the ball off the back of the scrum and making yards. I didn't realise his ball carrying was so good. I don't really watch Aviva Premiership. I watch the URC, so like I'd see the Irish provinces, I'd see Scottish teams, the Welsh teams, and then like obviously the South African teams, who have been a very good addition, and then the two Italian sides as well. So yeah, no, it's something definitely that I need to brush up on. But just put that down for a second. But Ben Earl is so good. Like, the amount of times in England scrum was getting put under pressure, and he just knew when to pick and go. Got tries as well, great over the ball, phenomenal defender as well. You know, gives you kind of everything. He's like your ultimate back rower. I've put him at 6 because I have to fit him in somehow, and that's because I have someone who I can't deny deserves the spot at open side, and that's Josh van der Flier, who, I mean, World Player of the Year how many times now? It seems like every year he's up for a nomination at least. But like, he scored 3 tries in the Autumn International, you know, so that's insane. Like, for an open side flanker, he always turns up And when Ireland weren't doing well in the back line, he just always has something else to his game, you know. Doesn't matter what you ask him to do, he can do it. Now, he was always great at tackling and, stealing the ball, but he's improved his ball carrying so much. Like whenever there's anything he needs to work on, he seems to go off and do it and then just come out even better. So I think any team that you have Josh van der Fleer available for you, you have to pick him, undoubtedly. And I think Caelan Doris will be the captain at number 8, and I think he's definitely made a case for himself. Like, I wouldn't always be very sure of him, I have to be honest. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but I'm saying there's a lot of hype about him, and sometimes I don't get it because I think he has a mistake in him. He's not always super confident, and I don't always have an awful lot of faith in him. But in fairness to him, like, credit where it's due, he comes up with the try against Australia when it's needed, gets man of the match, and scored against Fiji. So, look, definitely deserving of a spot. And I've no doubt he will start as 8 and may probably get the captaincy as well, because he has matured, and he speaks well to the ref. I know they've said a few issues with him playing and his communication with the ref. I just think that's the ref being very harsh on him. Particularly in that tour against South Africa, I felt Luke Pearce was extremely biased. I know I'm an Irish fan, but come on. Like, that try that James Lowe had disallowed in the first test, that was very dubious. And there was clearly a neck roll on Kelleher, so... just saying. To not even bring it back for an Irish penalty, and then to go, you've asked me that now several times, you have to, you're the captain. You can't just let it lie. No, of course not. So, I don't see a problem with how Doris talks to the ref. If anything, he's too polite, as Ireland captains tend to be. But yeah, that's the pack anyway. Let me know what you think of that. That's the big one for me, because I'm a forward, so that's the one that I know most about. Then in the half-back pairing, this is going to cause controversy, not the 9 selection, Jamison Gibson Park, because, come on, the guy's phenomenal. Bit of a quiet autumn series now, if I'm being honest. Not what we normally expect from him, but he is still world class, unbelievable, very quick with the ball, and apart from Dupont, I think him, Cam Roigard, and Antoine Dupont, best 9s in the world at the minute. His speed of getting the ball from the ruck into hand, his passing range is insane. Like, I was watching Leinster against Leicester, I was watching Gibson Park warming up. It's how quick he picks the ball up and passes it, it's just gone. Like all good scrum halves, but he's always scanning, he's always running great support lines as well. So it's like, once a player makes a break, like all good 9s do, he follows, he tracks, and in that game he got a hat-trick and won man of the match. And I got to see him, and I got to give him a little wink and go, good man, we love you, Jemmy. So yeah, that no-brainer really, is it? At 10, now, I've had a lot of people debate me on this on Facebook, and I'm sure I'll get a few more. I am going for Marcus Smith. I know everybody wants Finn Russell in the team, but I'll tell you that one now, why I've picked Marcus Smith and not Finn Russell to start. As you'll see, I have him on the bench, a few players on the bench, but I watched Marcus Smith against New Zealand, and I just thought to myself, he bossed that game so well. And like, for the criticism that he's come under, like, for such a young lad, they're thinking, like, that's unbelievable, like, it's insane, and it's not fair. They crucified him in the media, and you're there kind of going, look, he's only a young fella, he doesn't decide how the team plays. It seems to me like the English media will look for a scapegoat, so they want someone to be the best in the world. They give them a huge title, and they do it with the football. You saw all the shit that the players got in the football. They'll label them as world beaters and the best in the world, but as soon as you don't live up to the hype, they'll crucify you. And I think they did that with Marcus Smith. But rather than dropping his head, he rose to the challenge, and that's what's most impressive about that. I think he's more of a team player than Finn Russell, if I'm being honest. I think Finn Russell, yeah, has all the talent in the world, I'm not denying that. But he seems to care more about his bag of tricks than actually how the team performs. Now, credit to him, he puts players into space. His passing is insanely good. Like, he puts people into really good gaps. But I would argue that Scotland have a better backline than England and more players that you can use. You know, so it's like they've better options. The England attack looks very flat. Henry Slade's not playing his best. Ollie Lawrence, a bit iffy about him. He can be very good, but he's no Manu Tuilagi, put it that way. But Marcus Smith just played excellent against New Zealand, and I'm going to say it, if they kept him on the pitch, they win that game. George Ford just did not have it in him. You know, he cost them that game. Don't want to be bad to him, but you know, he missed a tackle on Mark Talea, who was an insanely good winger and very slippery as well. But George Ford missed that tackle and missed opportunities to win that game for him. You know, he missed kicks that he should have gotten. Whereas you contrast that, and now this broke my heart when Ireland played England in the Six Nations last year in Twickenham, or Allianz. Anybody else feel like that shouldn't happen? It's Twickenham, I'm going to call it that, because it's an iconic stadium. But Marcus Smith stepped up and won that game against us. You know, nerves of steel. So I think he's more than mature enough. I think he's got the talent. I think he's a team player. I don't think he cares more about his own game than everybody else's. I simply feel like England just don't have the firepower that Scotland would have at their disposal to make Finn Russell look even better. So for me, it's a no-brainer. And as well as that, like another fella that I was looking at, who I don't really know that well, but I'm impressed by what I see, is Ollie Slightholme, who Marcus Smith set up for a brilliant try, really good kick. And Ollie Slightholme is definitely one to watch. He could definitely make the team, and also Faye Wabosa, good player, but I'm yet to see. Tommy Freeman's another one I like, but again, we're going to watch the Six Nations. This is the team I'm going with for now. So, let me know your thoughts. At 11, over here, we have Duhan van der Merwe, of course. He's the good-looking brother. Have you ever seen his brother, Akker van der Merwe? No doubt it's the who's the tough one and who's the boyish charm in the family. Both good players, but both very different playing styles. Van der Merwe is just very strong. You know, he scores tries for fun. He had a field day against Australia, and I've no doubt he will. With the backline I've picked, you know, just a machine. Needs to work on his defence a little bit, I think. I think he thinks he can outmuscle everyone. He is very strong, but attack-wise, I wouldn't have any issue with him. Defensively, I guess wingers are like that though, aren't they? But yeah, look, he can work on that. And as I say, he will get you tries. He loves scoring against England. We'll see if he does that again in this Six Nations. But yeah, Duhan van der Merwe, number 11 on that left wing. And then on the right wing, I ran out of space, so I had to put it down here. Darcy Graham has really impressed me, so I've gone for both Scottish wingers. His speed, you know, he just seems to always get out of gaps. He gets through every gap. He always manages to get through defenders, you know, like they're not there. It's like a dog, you know, going through the tunnel. He always seems to just hop through people's legs and skip past them, and he's deceptively strong, so that's why I've picked him in my team, because he will get you tries and he's dangerous. You know, he set up Josh Bayliss for that try against Australia, and he did very well. So he makes my team. And then at fullback, Mr. Reliable, Hugo Keenan, machine of a man. I think without him we wouldn't have won against Australia last Saturday. Hugo Keenan is just so reliable. I think he's the most reliable fullback in Europe, and that's why I've picked him. But honourable mentions go to Freddie Stewart and Blair Kinghorn, but I have Blair Kinghorn on the bench because I'm kind of going for him on the bench as well, because he can play more positions than Keenan. Like, he can play fly half, he can play winger, and he can play fullback. Keenan, you know, he can play on the wing, but fullback is kind of his bread and butter. Like, that's his position, so he's more of an out and out fullback, if you like. But definitely a close contest between him and Kinghorn for sure. And then a centre partnership, and I've left that till last because I think it's an interesting one. Now, people might see it and be like, which Jones is he talking about, and then Gary Ringrose just over here. Had to get them all in there. Now, I know Hugh Jones plays at 13 as well, outside centre, for Scotland. I remember watching him though when he played for the Stormers, and I don't know if anybody else remembers when he played for the Stormers before he came back to play with Glasgow. But he played there and he's strong, you know, like he's physically good. And then most people would say you should have gone with Sione Tuipulotu or Bundy Aki. Now for me, Aki has slowed down a lot. He's 34 now. Phenomenal World Cup, you know. But I feel like he's really slowing down. And maybe if you're playing against South Africa, you go for a bulkier 12, you know, you go for a bigger lad. But Hugh Jones is strong, you know, he's deceptively strong. And I actually think because Sione Tuipulotu plays at 12, Hugh Jones often doesn't get enough of the ball. So I remember it before, like my brother was playing at centre and he was playing at second centre. He's a big fella, you know, like he's also played in the front row. But for your centre, you kind of want the 12 to be the one who gets over the gain line, you know, the crash ball, which Tuipulotu does very well. For me, Hugh Jones can do that, but he also has the footwork and the skill. And he's one of those players, I think, if you have him at your disposal, you have to pick him. I think it'd be unjustified to not pick him, and I think he's a better player than Tuipulotu. And I think he's more valuable to a team. But I also couldn't justify leaving Gary Ringrose out of the team because he's one of those unsung heroes that just always shows up. And one thing that's really impressed me about Gary Ringrose in the Autumn Internationals has been his defence. Smashed Rico Ioane. Johnny Sexton will love that one. Did that one for Johnny for sure. But it was impressive. And then against Argentina, I think he hit Pablo Matera, you know, a flanker, and put him on his arse. So it's just, that's really impressive. He's bulked up, he's gotten stronger, he's worked on his game, he's technically very good. And as I say, if you were going to play against South Africa, you'd obviously need, I think, a bit more bulk in the midfield area. But because it's Australia and it's not going to be as physical, it's going to be more a skill-based game. It's going to be more evenly matched physical. Physical battle would be evenly matched, I would say. Yeah, the physicality is more so South Africa's thing, where you've got like Deolande and Andre Esterhuizen to choose from. So if you've got those two, you want a big bulky fella who can stop them. Then again, both these lads have really improved their defence. I think they give you the most honourable mentions. Obviously, Bundy Aki. I feel bad not putting him in the team, but I'm going for an exciting team that I want to see. And then obviously Sione Tuipulotu. Now he can prove himself in this Six Nations coming up, and if he does, no reason why he doesn't get into the team, you know, because he's a good player and his crash ball is very good. So we'll see. But this is the team I'd like to see. I think Hugh Jones and Gary Ringrose are phenomenal. Both excellent players and give you the most variety to your game. So that's my 15 anyway. Let me know what you think. The reason I've gone for it is because I think in what you want in your pack is consistency. The lads who've been consistently good. And I think this pack gives it to you. You know, you've got a skill set, but you've also got ball carriers in every position. Like not one of those players is that, you know, all boring type of front rower or second rower that doesn't really carry. They can all carry. You know, Porter and Ferguson will make it the hard yards. Dowie Lake has a bit of flair about him. Both McCarthy and Byrne have lots of flair. You know, they're very skillful, but they're also good ball carriers. And the back row, I think, is outstanding. You've got a jackal threat, which with every single one of them, they can all go for the ball. They're all physical. They can all carry as well. So, you know, really good pack, I think. But let me know what you guys think. I'd love to see as well, in the moving on to the back line, Gibson Park, his skill set. I think him and Marcus Smith would just be such a good combination. Really good. And then Hugh Jones and Gary Ringrose at centres. Oh, it's going to be exciting. And I think Van der Merwe and Darcy Graham in particular. Now I know you could say, well, why not play their fly half with them? Marcus Smith has good vision, like Russell. You know, both of them do. But I think he's more of a team player. You know, puts the team's needs ahead of his own. Russell just does too many stupid mistakes where a pass isn't on, but he'll try throw the ball, he'll put the ball out in the full, and then start smiling and laughing. Now, for all the hard work the forwards do, if your fly half then boots the ball out, say after you've won a scrum against the head, and he boots the ball out in the full and starts laughing, you're like, you fucking prick. You want to kill him. And I just don't think Marcus Smith is that type of player. I think he's the one that will go, what's the sensible thing to do here? And he needs a better backline to work with. The English backline has not been great. Few interesting players. I think their back three is good, but their centre partnership hasn't really fired, and that's why they're not winning games. Back three is exciting, a real attacking threat there, and then also a fullback with Keenan. You've got that reliability. He can just, he's always in the right place at the right time, and he's tough as well. He doesn't look like he's going to be, but he is tough. So moving on to the bench, Ronan Gallagher, a lot to prove. His throwing has not been good, but he's a phenomenal player. Ewan Ashman now could overtake him, so I will just mention that I've been impressed with Ewan Ashman. He's a strong lad as well. Am I right in saying he's Canadian? Any Scottish fans, let me know. That would explain the hardy lumberjack style about him. But very good player. He could definitely break in if Kelleher's not performing, and if Shane doesn't come back. So no reason why he couldn't. Scotland, I think Scotland's year, if it's going to happen for them, like we said about Ireland in the last World Cup, that was their year. They didn't do it, obviously, I know, but this could be Scotland's year in the Six Nations, no doubt. But they need that consistency. They have to be consistent or else they don't win. So we'll see. At 17, I've gone with Pierre Schoeman. Some people probably would have said he deserves the number one position. Not over Andrew Porter, guys, come on. Andrew Porter is phenomenal. One of the best, if not the best, loose heads in the world. So, Schoeman, though, gets around well, and he carries well. He's got that hardy South African nature about him. So, yeah, definitely gets in. Has earned that spot over Ellis Genge, in my opinion, for sure. And I'm not putting Kane Healy in there, because the lads, fair play to him. I was there, and I saw him getting his 134th cap. But Jesus, he's nearly 40, so I don't know if he can even last 40 minutes now. So Schoeman, we know, can, and I think has earned that place. And Kane Healy has had plenty of Lions tests, so I think it's time to pass the mantle over to somebody else, or pass the baton, whatever you want to use. 18 now is a funny one. I've gone with Will Stewart because I've seen a vast improvement in his game. He's very strong, he's big and powerful. But more so for consistency and lack of good tight heads. There's not many good front rowers, Anybody else feel like the Lions tour, like the Lions team of 2017 and 2013 was light years above the one in 2021? I know you had COVID and everything, but Jesus, it feels like the talent was much greater back then. But Will Stewart is in there because he's reliable, he's big, he's strong. Not the most exciting player, but you don't really need that as a tight head. You just need to be winning scrums. And he's a strong boy, so that could all change, but we'll see. As I say, if Tyke Furlong is fit, it's him and Xander Ferguson all the way. So, replacement, second row, George Martin, because he's big, he's strong, he adds a lot of ball carrying to your game, so that's why you want him on the pitch. He's a big bulky bastard. Powerful, and he can play blindside flanker as well if you need him to. I was impressed with him in the Six Nations, not so much in the autumn, but one thing I like is he takes it to the line and then gives the pass and draws in lots of defenders because he's a big fella, like nearly 20 stone. That's all I really need to say about him. Big, bulky bastard. The three Bs. At 20, I've gone with Rory Darge because I think he's excellently real out and out flanker, Gets over the ball well, jackals really well, carries very well. Just a very good player. A real flanker, really good open side. Definitely deserves a spot. Honourable mentions to Matt Ferguson and Chandler Cunningham South, who've both been good, but I think Darge, I'm always a big fan of his. Jamie Ritchie, good player, but I prefer Darge. I think he's just always been good. Ben White at 21, replacement scrum half, because I was going to pick Craig Casey, but I thought not experienced enough. Love Craig Casey though. He showed how hard he is, didn't he? How tough he is. Like, he got floored by Luke Tangy for Fiji, but a tight head on a little scrum half. Like, in fairness, yeah, who's ever going to win that? So fair play to him, he stood up to the task. And then had to deal with one of Joshua Tuisava's massive big meat cleavers. But stayed tough and then scored a try, so fair play to him. 22, if he's not starting, he has to be in the team somehow. Finn Russell, because he does have a great skill set. I think he's a bit arrogant at times, but he is a phenomenal player, and I think if he's coming off the bench, he'll have a point to prove, and that'll make him dangerous. I think we'll see the best of him. If he knows he's going to start, he'll probably get a bit cocky and think he doesn't have to do as much. So I think having him off the bench will make him work harder. And then Blair Kinghorn. Let's just see if we can get that in. Yeah, Blair Kinghorn at 23. Can cover wing, can cover 10, and he can cover fullback. Very good player. Very good player, and plays a variety of positions, which is why I've picked him at 23 and not starting fullback. Because he is very good attacking player. Added a lot to that Scottish backline. So, any one of those lads could start if they perform well in the Six Nations. It's my first rugby video, guys. Let me know what you think. Phone's about to die, so I've got to leave it at this. Please let me know, and I'm very excited to make my first rugby video. Cheers.